Hi, hope everyone's okay, having a good day. I just thought I'd check in because I've found a couple of cool people today that have some really good information to share. So I thought I would share. And the other thing that I've I guess discovered on my travels is it's really a sad state of affairs when people are so hateful or judgmental against people who are happy or want to be happy or want to be better, try better. You know what I mean? So, but these so there's a couple of people. I watched this really interesting. I've shared him before, Sean Atwood. He has a true crime channel and podcast. He has different people on, and he does a lot to do with Maxwell and Epstein and all of those kind of folks. But those two that came up that I've watched today, and it was just really interesting. And yeah, so the first one was a guy called Matthew Steeples, and he's got a really cool website himself. So I'll link into that. But he was being interviewed about Madeleine McCann. This is just not going to go down well with certain people. But I had this conversation with my mum after I watched it. I had this conversation with my mum about it, and because that case is so big, everyone's got an opinion on it. And it's gone on a long time. But really, everyone's only got their opinions based on what they've mainstream media have said again, and generally won't necessarily have done any extra looking into it. Take it as it is, as it's being told to them. And so there's some things that he points out which are really good questions, and I'd never thought of it before. But they are really important, and everyone's kind of, it's what, because it is so big, as I say, everyone's got an opinion on it. But here's some things that were pointed out by this guy, and he's heavily involved in cases where children go missing. And when you think about the scale of that in general and how many children go missing every year, how many children are currently missing, and not a single one of them has had the same level of media interest, money thrown at it, money paid to the parents, funds set up, length of time the case has been open. You know what I mean? So if millions of children around the world go missing every single year, and not one of them gets the same that same treatment, why is that? It's odd, isn't it? I mean, it is odd. Why? And this is, I don't want people to think that I don't care about Madeleine McCann. That's not the case. I do care about Madeleine McCann, but I also care about all of the other children that are missing. Why have they not got that same treatment and that same level of interest, that same level of care, and that same amount of money to find them? You know? So this guy is, he is, as I say, his name is Matthew Steeples. He was involved in this. He's met them. He's, you know, he's obviously got his own opinions. He's going to have access to more information. But some of the questions that he asked were, firstly, the family, the McCanns have been paid £12 million. Why has no other family been? I mean, what is that payment? What is it? Compensation? Damages? Is that how much a child's life's worth? If that's the case, then why hasn't every other family been paid the same? At all, if anything. And not only that, they get to, this guy is saying that the government give £200,000 a year towards keeping this case open, to find this one child. Well, if they're setting a precedent, then every family that has lost a child that has been abducted or is missing should be paid 12 million. And every child that has gone missing should have their case left open. And every child that has gone missing should have £200,000 a year put into finding them, no? If that's the precedent, why just one child? Why just this one? Is their child more important than every other child? Is their family more important than every other family that's lost a child or is missing? It's just something that doesn't sit right. Also, he said that they paid for childcare. So they're obviously doctors, so they're from a well-off family, and they paid for childcare during the day, but they didn't during the night when they were. So they paid for childcare during the day when they were around, but at night when they went off to, and then it's only across the way, they didn't pay for childcare to sit in during the night. That also doesn't seem to make sense. They also didn't lock the door. And this is in no way insinuating anything against the McCanns, by the way, but these things are just facts that don't make sense. They also apparently erased their phones. And they also just went for a run the next day like nothing had happened. Or went and played tennis. Then they had, there was obviously various cases along this timeline where they've sued various police forces and lost, though. They also didn't like the dogs, so they had dogs, cadaver. you know, the dogs that smell for death, essentially, blood. And they had these dogs, and they obviously went around the apartment and indicated that there was, as he calls it, the scent of death in that room, in the cupboard, and around the room. I know there was also blood splashes, and also in a rental car. And then they sued them for that as well, saying that their dogs were wrong. And the guy also points out that you know, because of the fame, essentially, and the magnitude of the case, the people that got involved, like so many famous people also have been involved in this case along this time. And they, you know, they were flown here, there, and everywhere. They went to meet the Pope. They went to meet Barack Obama. They've written books about all the things that they've done since. And every family that has a child that goes missing or is abducted, or there is no difference between any other family and the McCann. So why have they got that and all of the money that has come from it, and no other family has gotten that? It's just, the whole thing of it seems very odd. So yeah, I'm going to link into this guy's website, because I went onto it afterwards. This Matthew Steeples, his name is, and actually, there was another funny article that he had on there, because he's very funny. And he talks about all different things. He obviously talks about Maxwell and Epstein and things like that. Just general. Here we go. The convenient Catholic couple, right? So this is to do with Boris and his mistress, now wife. So let me just read you this. So first of all, I'm going to show you the picture. I don't know if it can come up. You see that? So obviously that's Boris. That's his now wife. With somebody right, with the guy who's got the Beast 666 written on him. Is it? Look, that's who he's married. Okay. Matthew Steeples demands to know why Boris Johnson was able to marry his puppet mistress in a Catholic cathedral, given he's already had 2 wives prior, and highlights the wine-chucking wife's deviancy also. Ahead of lording it over world leaders and their spouses at the forthcoming 47th G7 summit at the shameful disgrace that is the tree-killing Carby Bay Hotel next week, the wicked wench, formerly known as Carrie Simmons, pulled off a bit of a distraction technique, excellent, by marrying the man she'd previously chucked a lot of red wine at, her pointless puppet, Boris Johnson. The former Miss Simmons and now third Mrs. Johnson, who ought not to be called Britain's first lady, but instead Britain's third loose woman, is anything but suitable to represent our nation at such an event. This Scarlet Woman, Princess Nutnuts, has a shameful past, and aside from working at a charity funded by the currently incarcerated mucky Madam Ghislaine Maxwell, I haven't read down this far. I've read a bit further about it. Oh my God, this is brilliant. And also starred in a play about the occultist Satanist Alistair Cowley whilst at university. Oh, that's probably what that is. Oh, this is brilliant. It's a good point, though. You know what I mean? Who's leading the country? Well, you got a man who's cheated on his last 2 wives and he's marrying an occultist who used to work for Ghislaine Maxwell. Says it all, really, doesn't it? And no, in a Catholic ceremony, are you crazy? Decidedly deviant and also romantically involved with supporters of the far-right traditional Britain group, whom have expressed a desire to hang Baroness Lawrence, the mother of the victim of a racist murder, from a tree. Prior to hooking up with money-making Jennifer Akuri's ex-bonker, the present, for how long God only knows, Mrs. Johnson's union in a Catholic cathedral has also quite rightly attracted widespread criticism. At a time when the general public haven't been able to celebrate nuptials with many guests, how was it that Boris Johnson and his now wife were able to party with extras? And how also could a man with 2 previous unions be able to pass them off as invalid and thus effectively, heartlessly deny the existence of the children of those marriages in addition? True though. Whilst Boris Johnson, who is most definitely a confirmed member of the Church of England whilst at Eton, yet married in a Catholic ceremony last weekend, and his new wife were again laughably lauded by Daniel Johnson in Unheard on Tuesday as deserving our congratulations, not our brickbats. The majority of the public were left asking, how can this sleazy oik and his third concubine be allowed to be so shamelessly profiteer whilst getting away with wrecking everybody's lives also? The convenient Catholic couple are a disgrace to our nation, and after embarrassing us all before those attending the G7 summit next week, it's surely time they finally did the decent thing, disappear to Siberia and take their shitty Lulu lights decorations with them. Look, this is the picture as well. Can you see? Look, I did that makeup not that long ago. The convenient Catholic couple Boris Johnson and his new merry wife Carrie are a pair of dangerous deviants. When they're not wasting money on dodgy decor, they're binging on frightfully expensive food, from Lady Doors to Manual. Wow! Look, oh yeah, and look. This was his former mistress. Do you remember her? Former shagging partner Jennifer Akuri. Oh dear. Oh, and look at this. This is the picture of. I mean, it says it all. Listen, look. You see that? That's her in the satanic thing. And they've got married in a Catholic cathedral. What is going on, people? What is going on? So that's that story. I'm going to put a link into his website. He's very funny. So the next thing that I saw then is same guy, Sean Atwood. And this one was a chap called Andrew Wallace. And this is human organ trafficking. He's got 2 websites. One's called Unseen, and the other one is Modern Slavery. And he's he obviously does a lot of work here in the UK, but in other countries also, and he's very knowledgeable on the topic and works with all of the relevant agencies. And Unseen is actually an app that you can download onto your phone. This applies anywhere. You can download this app onto your phone, and firstly, it gives you a list of things, because modern slavery is the worst it's ever been. Trafficking and all of this kind of thing. Trafficking, sex trafficking, organ trafficking. It's right in front of your face. That's the worst thing about it. It's everywhere. So Unseen gives a list of things to look out for and it's a lot to do with gut. When you just know when you can just feel that there's something not right with a situation or with a person. Not that there's something wrong with them, but like with the same with telling the signs of somebody that's been abused or is being currently abused. There's telltale signs. And this Unseen app gives you the ability, it gives you a long list of what these signs are, but it also gives you the ability to report it. And this is where everybody is important, because it is everywhere. And he gave some examples with things like car washes popping up, nail bars, so people that are being interacted with regularly, and they're actually part of this modern slavery. And so there's some telltale signs, and one of them is a couple of them is you can tell by their demeanor, and these don't apply to any person that's abused, really. You can tell by their demeanor if they're not, if they're quite quiet, if they seem like they're in fear, if they're under somebody else's control, i.e. they constantly have to check in with somebody, or when you're talking to them, they don't want to answer the questions, or they have to check with somebody first before they answer. And he's, sometimes he for example, with car washes, he's saying that people will get delivered, the staff will get dropped off in one go in the morning, and you won't really have any interaction with that. They'll wash the car. It'll be too cheap for what a car wash should cost, and all of the money will only ever get collected one person. That's a telltale sign. And the rest won't necessarily speak English. And he said human traffickers treat the people that they're trafficking as commodities, not as humans. So they really kind of have disdain for them, and they're just really there to make them money in whatever way possible. And they will use that person to get as much money. So he said what you often find is they might be working somewhere during the day, like could be anywhere. It could be a delivery person, it could be a nail bar, it could be in a manufacturer, it literally could be anywhere, a car wash. And then at the end of that day, they're not done, they'll make them then go into sex exploitation to make them more money. So anyway, this app is really good because it means that it can firstly, if you see it, and if you feel you've got a gut instinct, if you feel that something's wrong, you should definitely report it, because he said that, even though you think, oh, what difference will I make? He goes, you could actually make a massive difference. Each and every person could be that last piece in the puzzle of a puzzle that you don't know about. So they might be aware of a trafficking ring in that area, but they haven't got the last piece. And if you see something, if you feel in your gut, if you feel inside that something is wrong, and you report it, whatever it is, because you might not even know, you just got that gut feeling, And you report it via this app or via 999 and 911 if it's like you think that somebody's in immediate danger, or via the app or the trafficking. There's a US trafficking hotline. I'll put the links to this, and the UK modern slavery hotline. And just reporting it via any one of those, even if you don't really know what it is, but you just got that gut feel, that information could be the key that unlocks that case or gets those people ultimately, because you don't know all the backstory, you don't know where it is in terms of their investigation on it, but you could be that final piece, or at least a piece in it. And that's why it's important for everybody, to truly tackle it. Everyone can be a part of that if they see it. So I'll put all the links to that in. But going back to this organ, the organ trafficking. So this is just really open, relatively open, in the sense that in the West, people needs because people there's not enough people on the organ donor list. People either haven't signed up or however opted out or signed up. It means that there's obviously long waiting lists to get matches. And that could be life or death, couldn't it? Because essentially, depending on how immediate that need is for that donor, and if you're going to be told it's going to be a year, 2 years plus to get a match, but then they also tell you that you're going to have to be on dialysis or whatever treatments in the meantime until you get a match, or you could potentially die in that time. That's where the demand comes from, because people don't want to die and they don't want to wait, and also people don't want to donate. So that's how the demand for this trade comes up. And what they'll do is, you can easily search on Google that people are offering transplants, and it'll be 10, 15, 20,000 for whatever organ it is. And the traffickers, the organ traffickers, the way that obviously he knows, because this is what he does. They travel around the world and they go to villages that are in the middle of nowhere, that are struggling for money and for food, and they'll offer them $5,000 for a kidney, let's say. And as he put it, that's a king's ransom. When you're living in a village in the middle of nowhere and you have nothing, seems like a good option to feed your family, doesn't it? So that's how they get people. They use obviously force as well, or threats, and so they'll sign up. They'll say, yeah. Sometimes they'll bring somebody that's already had it as like look, this guy's had it done, he's happy as Larry, as like a sales prop, essentially. They'll obviously someone will have a match. And it'll be relatively, I want to say above board. It's not above board, but so they'll fly the person to a hospital. They'll have the kidney removed, and then as they come to, this is this guy. This is what he said. As they come to, they'll go, here's your bill for the hospital to have had the kidney removed. It's 5,000. So there is no money. They don't get anything. So the money that they were told they were going to get for the kidney, they then are told that they have to pay to have had the kidney out. They're not obviously told all this in advance. So now they've got one kidney. They've had a major operation. They've got no money. And they're sent back to the village in the middle of nowhere where they have no money and no food and no medicine to sustain having one kidney. Because when you have obviously you can survive on one kidney, but as the guy said, you need aftercare, and they're not going to have that either. So then it's like you've completely exploited that person for profit, and you've dramatically reduced their life expectancy and health. And the person that's paid, the person who then buys that kidney will pay 50. So they first of all, the human trafficker gets the $5,000. So he's not going to pay that. Probably have some people on the books who are going to do these operations for some percentage. And then they're charging 10, 15, 20 grand for that same kidney. So they're getting that money as well. And that person who buys that kidney doesn't ask where it's come from and doesn't care because they've got a kidney. And there's a Canadian documentary about this exact thing, and the guy was like, they went to a village, and the entire village, all of the guys had a scar because they'd all sold their kidneys and had nothing from it. So yeah, that goes on. So I'm going to put the links into, because the Unseen app is, I think it's really important. Because everyone everywhere can be part of that. If you see anything or hear anything or witness anything, being able to have that method of reporting it to the right people, because they'll know what to do with that information, and engage with the right police or charities or whatever. So yeah, there's that. Then the what was the other thing I was going to say? I think that might be it for now. I've got some other things here, but I can't read my own writing, so I need to go back to that. Oh yeah, look, this is it. I was watching the Tuna Cheki channel, which is like African news. Big up Africa, I love you. Apparently, this is just how corrupt people are, right? So there was a guy that was in government in Nigeria, and he stole $165 million from government funds. Wait for it. And then he laundered it through UK banks. UK. Our banking is the most corrupt banking that there is, because it's the way it's been set up, with all the loopholes and the what. They come flocking, the criminals over here. They're like, yes. And they let them. Why? Because they're greedy. Anyway, so $165 million dollars he stole from Nigerian government. And it's obviously he has, I believe he's in prison now. They've only got, the Nigerian government have only got 5 million of that back. Well, I think the banks should be refunding that money for being the ones that are responsible for laundering it in the fucking first place. Surely. Oh, and also, why are the West wanting to use Africa as a dump site? Why are people still trying to exploit Africa and all of its What? How can this be? So I did the story the other day about US doing the trade deal, but only on the basis they can ship their rubbish there to Kenya for them to deal with. Look at the size of you. What the richest? What? Deal with your own bloody rubbish. Now Germany's hopping on this bandwagon. Germany wants to send their rubbish to Africa as well. No. This doesn't make no sense. Why are they trying to exploit Africa still? It's just absolutely outrageous. And the Democratic Republic of Congo. So you've got they're the most mineral commodity rich continent, and yet they're one of the poorest. Why is that? It's because we're exploiting them. The West is exploiting them, and then they're sending their rubbish there. I mean, it's unbelievable. The Democratic Republic of Congo have been conned out of billions of dollars of mining and deals, and they're the ones that got the mines. It's just, how do they think they can just get away with it? Africa does not belong to anywhere else but Africa's. So they should be the ones benefiting from these deals and their own commodities, their own minerals. What? But it's like still the West are going over there and just think take and exploiting everyone along the way. But are we still in the dark ages? It feels like we could be. Anyway. So yeah, I'm going to put all the links into that. And I hope everyone has a lovely, glorious day. And I'll speak to you later.